Okay, and we're recording. This is the part three of the adventures of Ginger the Jaguar that Bill has. He's currently half. I think you're half owner and I'm half owner. I think that's the
I believe that's true.
okay. And this is Ginger resided in Sumpter for many years with Bill, and she had some changes come up. Today's date is 05/23/2022, and this is part three of the continuing adventures of Ginger. Bill, I think it's all yours.
Oh, okay. Well, I think what we're going to do is kind of back up just a little bit as from our last interview. Uh, the reason that Ginger relocated to the Seattle area to Stan and Dina's home is because I sold the house in Sumpter. The reason I sold the house in Sumpter was I moved away from it. Patty, my wife, died, and being in that home was real. That area actually was very difficult, and so I. Shortly after Patty died, I went to stay with Bruce and Tracy in the Sisters, Oregon area, and uh, slowly over time, I guess, dealing with one thing and another, realized that I wasn't going to be going back to it. It wasn't a good place for me to be there alone, and so I had to dispose of some things. There was some furniture and so forth that I gave away, and but one of the important things was to find a home for both Fred and Ginger, the 37 Ford and the XKE. So I asked Stan if he'd be willing to assume the responsibility for the XKE, and he agreed. Of course, as you probably know if you listen to the interviews, that he in fact wasn't the original family owner of Ginger, and I was very glad that he was going to keep her in the family. Otherwise, finding a good home was going to be a lot more involved. So he was good enough to do that. I uh, contacted I guess I'd call him a brother-in-law, Bruce, as a used car lot, and had a pickup truck and a trailer that he could haul things with. And so we arranged for him to come by and with his trailer, and we loaded Ginger on the trailer and took her to Bainbridge Island. And uh, the trip there was actually pretty trivial. It's just a sort of a matter of fact sort of thing. Ginger was running adequately, and so trailering her there went well. And the hardest problem was at the end of the road that Stan lives on. It's a rather very tight. What would I call it? Sort of a U-turn area that was very
Mm-hmm.
tight, and it was
Yeah.
difficult to make a U-turn there. And but Bruce has a lot of practice in maneuvering those trailers in tight locations, and we uh, got her up on the driveway there, and parked her there. And then after a bit, Bruce and I took off back south, and left Ginger in Stan's capable hands. And do you think I covered it adequately with that little bit? Do you think, Stan?
Oh, yeah, yeah. No,
Okay.
yeah, I think you did. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Ginger. Uh, just kind of a little bit of follow up to that, Bill. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Ginger had been in the Wigman family for more than 53 years.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, so she has a long legacy as a Wigman, and
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Uh, Bill had many delightful hours spent with Ginger, and he and Patty spent many good times traveling the central California
Yeah.
highways and back
Napa,
roads of California.
Napa Valley is one of the high points of a tour of Napa Valley,
Yeah,
and that's you're
uh,
quite right, Stan.
yeah,
Quite right.
I can't think of a classier way than to spend a warm summer or spring day with a
Uh-huh.
beautiful woman, Patty, in this
Yeah.
case, in a car, in a Jaguar XKE with the top down, traveling
Right.
the back roads of the rolling hills of California. That
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
paradise on earth.
Talk about being in tall cotton, as a friend of mine used to say. That was tall cotton.
Yes, that was. Yeah, yeah. Well, as you would guess, parting with Patty, I'm sorry, parting with Ginger was
Hmm.
something that Bill was not ready to face. Did not want to have even the inkling of a thought of having to part with
Yeah. Oh,
Ginger,
true.
and so
True.
as Bill said, he called me up and said, "Hey, you, you know that XKE you used to own, in back in the
Yeah.
'60s. Would you be interested in having Ginger back?" And I said, "Well, I would love to have Ginger back if you're trying to find a new home for Ginger, but I don't have anywhere
Mm-hmm.
to keep her."
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so we, so I said, "Well, give me a little bit of time to figure this one out." So um, we had some. We were planning at our home here on Bainbridge. We were planning to build a garage anyway, or it was going to be a workshop, or a small garage, or larger workshop. So I thought, well, uh, Ginger needs a place that is suitable and of her level of beauty and qualities. She needs a nice place to come stay. And so, when was it? So I called Bill back and I said, "Well, we're going to be building a garage for Ginger. So, but I need some time to get that done." So Bill said, "Well, there's no immediate rush. You've got time to get that garage finished." So I said, "Well, okay. So we'll start building a garage for Ginger." So Bill sent me uh, the dimensions of Ginger, and I looked at it. In fact, he and I looked it up online to see, how long she was and how wide she was, and all those different things that you worry about when you build a garage for a car. And so the car was built for Ginger. And let's see, it took almost a year, I think, for me because I was working and I had to build it kind of in my in my spare time, and so I took the weekends and then days off to build Ginger, and had some help with the foundation. It's a slab foundation, and the building itself is situated so Ginger is not easy to get in or out, but she does just fine. But it is situated so it's a little difficult to get her in and out. But be that as it may, the garage is built for Ginger, and it looks the same design as the house itself. Actually, I think the door was everything in the garage was custom built. The doors were custom built, uh, and with Ginger in mind, and the windows are placed so you couldn't easily crawl in, and the doors are heavily barred in the inside and locked, so people can't, if they're curious, they can't easily get in or get Ginger out ever. So, but so that was the construction of Ginger's new home. Uh, the interesting part, some of the interesting stories that I recall getting Ginger from Sumpter, though, uh, Bill has a wonderful brother-in-law or a son, his son-in-law. Is that correct, Bill?
So I think I said brother-in-law, and you're right. It's son-in-law.
Son-in-law, yeah. Bruce. And what's Bruce's last name?
Resnick.
Resnick, yes.
Uh-huh.
Bruce Resnick. Bruce uh, is well named. Bruce. Bruce is a big guy. There's
Yeah, he is.
no question about his. Bruce is the guy that you would like to have with you when you walk down dark alleys. He's got that.
True.
Bruce has
It's
that.
true.
Yeah, Bruce has that build and look, and the nicest guy in the world, But he looks like probably a wrestler, a type build
Actually,
almost.
he wrestled as sport in high school,
Oh, he did.
and
He did.
yeah, so good intuition there, and also from appearance has a full beard as well,
Yes. Yeah.
trimmed, but still so it could be intimidating.
Yes. Very much so. Yeah. Kind of a almost a mountain man kind of look to him,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
all true.
But a gentle Ben sort of personality by any
Ah,
means.
good description.
Yeah, and the kindest heart you could ever imagine, at least from what I've always seen in Bruce, is a very kind heart.
That's my opinion too.
Yeah. So I suspect, and I don't know this to be the truth, but I suspect that Bill called up Bruce and said, I've got to get my car, my Jaguar, up to Bainbridge Island. Can you help me out?
Yep.
And I suspect what Bruce said, you bet. And when do you need to get it there? And so they arranged to, he and Bruce arranged to take a car trailer that Bruce has and tow it all the way up from Sumpter, Oregon, which is quite a ways away, over through mountain roads and highways and byways
That's right.
up to Bainbridge
Hmm.
Island.
All
And
right.
yeah, and I know when you got here, it was very late. It was just dusk when you called, and you were saying, "Where's your house?" We said, "We're in Paulsbo. Where's your house?" And
Yeah.
so I tried to explain as best I could, how to get to our house, and I I don't know if either of Bill or Bruce has GPS on their phones, but I got them as far as the McDonald's uh, restaurant. Uh, uh, it's not a cafe. What is McDonald's?
Oh,
It's McDonald's, I guess.
it's McDonald's. Yeah,
Is
I
this?
don't. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the McDonald's by Safeway, which like I said, just go down 305 until you hit McDonald's and Safeway, and you're almost there. So somehow in the dusky dusk, they managed to find our house
Yep.
uh, by hit and miss, I think, going down odd roads and ending up at our house. Our house is not easy to find. But when they came down, I could hear them. I was expecting them at a certain time because Bill had kind of kept in telephone contact with me. So I was expecting to hear them, and sure enough, I heard this kind of rumbling sound of Bruce's truck, which is a substantial truck. I think it's a diesel truck, I
Yes.
think.
I think it was at the time.
It was a diesel, yeah.
I think.
And so they come down and down at the end of the driveway, and our driveway is a gravel driveway, and the road is paved. But um, uh, getting Ginger up, we there it either needed to be backed in up the driveway, or Ginger needed to be driven in up the driveway and into the garage. And so Bruce, after careful consideration, thought that the best thing to do would be go down, as Bill talked a little bit about, was go down to the end of the road of our street of our road here, and there's a turnaround down there, and then come back down the road, and then back up a little ways into the driveway, and then Bill would then, the plan was, Bill would then drive the Jaguar off the car trailer, and all was working as planned. In fact, I, I remember Bruce was getting you and Bruce had jumped out of the van, and we said our highs and hellos and good to see yous and all that stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
there was this beautiful XKE on the back of the trailer. I'm sure everybody was looking at her when and let's
Yep.
see, let's see, and then you and then you drove. You were getting out the what do they call those things that you where the tires drive up to the I don't know what they're called, the ramps.
Oh yes, the ramps to the trailer.
Yeah, the ramps to the trailer.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Now, Bill and I together probably make one Bruce, and so Bill and I were Bill and I were trying to get these ramps down out of they tucked in under the trailer somehow, and we were trying to we were struggling with them, and Bruce came over and said, "Why don't you let me help you out?" And so what that meant was is stand aside and I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Bill and I stood aside, and Bruce, with in Bruce fashion, just slipped him out and put him in place, and off we were ready to go. So
Yep. Yeah.
Bruce said,
Yeah. Well,
"Bill,
he had a lot of practice. Keep in mind, he's had, with that trailer, he's probably done that about a million times. So,
yeah,
yeah, he had a head start.
he certainly did. Yeah, in fact, he referred to." He was trying to put a nice edge to us for us, and by telling us that he has muscle memory. He knew how to
Yes.
do this because of his muscle memory. It wasn't because we were
Well,
a bunch of wimps. It was because
right.
he knew how to
Right.
do it. Which was
Yes. He was kind, wasn't he?
yes, yeah. I thought it was a very kind gesture on his part, not to make us feel unmanly. But
Yes.
uh, Bruce then instructed Bill. Bill, your job is to drive the Jaguar down the ramp,
Yeah. Right.
and he said slowly though. He said very slow, as slow as you can go. So Bill jumps up on the trailer, and the top is down, and Bill is looking for the keys. Well, what keys? And Bill was looking through his pockets, and he couldn't find the keys to the Jaguar. And I think there was only one key to the Jaguar. At least I
Yeah.
think that's all you had was one
I
key.
think so.
Yeah.
I agree.
So you were looking through one pocket and then another pocket, and Bruce and I were going, "Oh no, what do we do?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so Bill was looking and looking, and I thought you were gonna turn yourself upside down and jump up and down trying to find those keys.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Eventually, somehow, somewhere in the recesses of your pocket, you found that key, that one
What a
key.
relief.
What a
What a relief.
yeah, I didn't know what we were going to do if we couldn't. I don't know if Bruce knew how to hotwire a Jaguar or not, or if Bill did. I didn't, but
Well, pushing her up would have been difficult because there's a bit of a grade
there is.
on your driveway.
Yes, there's an uphill climb to our
Yeah.
house up here from the road, and so we needed those keys. And Bill came through, and Bill said, "Aha, I found him." So, or I found it, and so you got in the Jaguar and it started beautifully up,
Yep.
sounding exactly like a Jaguar. And so you
Uh-huh.
back slowly down, and no problem. And Bruce tucked away the
The ramps.
ramps, and Bill then somehow turned up the driveway, and the doors to the garage were white. It's a double door garage, and you very carefully drove up to the door, and Bruce suggested we'll push it in from there, because you were, and rightfully so, you were a little concerned about driving in in the dark
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
garage, and so Bruce suggested that why don't you turn it off and we'll push it the rest of the way, and that's what we
It
did.
was level at that point.
Yes, it was. Yes, we were on the level. That's right, Bill. And
Yeah.
so you got out, and I think you steered and pushed as best you could. I mean, you didn't have much of a place to push. And Bruce and
Yeah.
Bruce probably could have pushed the car in easily himself, but
Probably done it by himself.
yeah,
You're right.
but he let me help push. So he said, "You can."
Yeah.
So
Helped
we
you
pushed that
feel okay
Jaguar.
about it.
Yeah, yes.
Uh,
In fact, you were sitting after we got a little ways in. You got into the Jaguar and sat
well,
in it, and
I
Bill
think
and Bruce.
having the door open and going into the garage door, I think was a little tight. I think.
Yes, it would have been. Yes, it would have wouldn't have been possible. So you were sitting in the car and steering, and
Yeah.
so Bruce and I were carefully pushing it in as easily or gently as we could, and so you got in the right position, and there you were, Ginger's
And
new
then
home.
there was what a fine location. They talk about finding a good home for the car.
Yeah, yeah,
He has certainly provided a really a good home,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I think that's wonderful.
yeah,
That I really appreciate it so much.
yeah. I uh, Ginger is sitting there now. She's covered up with the car. What do they call that? A car something? A
Car cover, I
car
think.
cover? Yeah. She's
Yeah,
sitting there with a car cover on. I have the
tucked in, so to speak.
tucked in, yes.
Hmm.
And I check on her quite frequently. Change the oil,
Hmm.
as my mechanic suggests, once a year. She's not driven very little, started up but not driven. But uh, she needs a few minor things like a new timing chain and a radiator fan motor or something, or a switch or something, to just to make sure she doesn't overheat. I don't want to drive her without having those two things. Oh, and we should probably replace the wheels, the wire wheels, or the original wire wheels. But we can buy wire wheels that are exactly the same.
Replacement. Yeah,
Replacement, yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that I forgot about that. We when we talked about that earlier. I forgot about the wheels. That's a good point.
yeah, yeah. I think actually, I think you were concerned about going around corners and the wheels actually collapsing because of their age, and they
Yes, yeah, it was a thought. That was yeah.
yeah,
we- We'd like everybody to be safe, of course.
yeah. And you can see Ginger by simply looking at the picture that we've included with this video or this recording. There's a picture of Ginger in the front yard and by the gate with the top down that I had to take for the insurance company. The insurance company wanted to know how much she should be insured
Oh, I didn't
for.
know that. Oh, how neat!
Yeah,
How neat!
yeah, they were very particular about that. They wanted to make sure the engine was the original and everything was as I said it was, and they
Yeah.
they didn't seem to have any concerns. They said, "Okay, you got it." So it's now it's as I mentioned to Bill earlier in our discussion, the insurance was just renewed today on her. So uh, Bill and I will discuss the inheritance of Ginger. We don't know quite in our family who would be next in line to inherit Ginger. I don't know, and that's something. Um, there's people that would love to have Ginger, but we don't know if Ginger needs to go to a very special home. So we'll have,
Oh, yes.
yeah. So Bill and
Yeah.
I will have
Just
to,
not any. Just not anybody.
just not anybody. That's right.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so that's the next story for Ginger. We don't quite,
Yeah.
hopefully Bill and I will be around for, a longer time, but we need to at least know what's going to happen to Ginger should something happen
Yep.
to either Bill or myself. So,
That's an excellent point, Stan.
yeah.
The I think it's called succession, and
Yes. Yes.
I think, and that's an important. That's important.
Yeah. Well, there'll probably be a part four to the saga of Ginger, the adventures of Ginger. I don't know quite where that will be. I suspect Bill and I will. Bill and I were just talking about doing some maintenance things with Ginger, or some touch-up things like putting in
Hmm.
the original radio put that back in.
Yes.
The wire wheels, the timing change, of course, timing chain. And Bill, I think I found an excellent mechanic. Apparently, they only work on Jaguars in Seattle.
Oh,
It's a
oh,
classic. Yeah,
oh, how
it's
neat.
yeah. And I'll double check with them, but they, of course, they charge more than what our probably our joint homes cost at this moment. They charge an astronomical amount of money, but
Probably, probably
yeah,
so.
but that's all they work on is just English vintage cars, and their shop is just beautiful. I mean, it looks like something you would see somewhere in old England, and the mechanics are just gaga over Jaguars and XKEs and all those old MGs and all those
I
old
don't
cars.
blame them. I don't blame them.
Yeah. Well, Bill, can you think of anything more we should add to this story before we go on to whenever part four is? Is there anything more that we?
Right, right. I think you covered it very well, Stan. There's actually you remembering things that I had conveniently forgotten, like not knowing where the heck the key was, and do you remember how it got turned around? Because as I recall, we went in front first
Yes, we did.
into the
Yeah.
garage. How did we get turned around,
I
or did
don't.
we did that?
I don't. I think you
Remember?
went down to the end. I think you backed it down to the end of the road and turned around
Ah, and then drove back up,
and drove
and
back. Yeah, and drove back up. I think that was how it
yeah,
was done.
yeah.
I do want to give a special mention. Was there anything else, Bill?
No, that was it. I was just curious if you remembered.
I don't. I honestly don't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe that's one of those part four adventures that we'll have to
Yeah,
maybe we'll
yeah,
remember.
yeah.
I do want to give a special tribute or notice to people who have had association with Ginger over the years, and that's let's see, I can't remember can't remember his name. I remember his first name is Ernie. Ernie was my original mechanic and Ginger's original
Yes, you
mechanic.
talked about that.
Yeah, and in the previous episodes we've had of Ginger, we've had talks about Ernie and how helpful he was always. Ginger seems to attract very helpful people,
Yeah.
and they take a liking to Ginger almost immediately. Uh, First off, though, is our mother, Mom, who financed Ginger actually.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see who
Uh,
else. Uh,
Low interest rate, as I
at a
recall.
low interest rate. That's right. We talked a little bit about that. So
Yeah.
Mom, Ernie, Bruce, absolutely Bruce, who has been a real uh, companion to Bill,
Yeah, he
and also
really helped. Perhaps the shop that did the restoration in San Jose, although I don't recall, I wish I remembered the name of the shop. I don't think it's there anymore.
oh
Um, but they did they certainly met my expectations. The folks that did the upholstery, I think they did a really nice job. Lots and lots of people who are involved in a TLC regard. Well, they got paid for it, of course, but still, I think you're right, Stan, about there's there's something there that people involved with these kind of cars. Oh, the repair shop in San Jose that I would take Ginger to for her semi-weekly tune-ups and so
yeah,
forth.
yeah. There
So,
wasn't there
was
a shop in Baker City also that did something? I thought.
I think I located a shop that might, but never. I don't recall ever taking her
Oh, she never went in.
to that shop.
Oh, okay.
I think
Okay.
that's the case. Yeah, actually, the reputation of the Jaguars being difficult to maintain wasn't my experience. I commuted to work on the freeways and so forth, and really only had serious difficulty one time over the years that I drove her. So that's heck. That wasn't too bad.
Yes, that's right.
Too bad
Yeah.
at all. I'm trying to remember if anybody else that was. uh, involved in it. I suppose I'd have to give credit to Patty, who encouraged me to do the restoration. I needed a boost, a push to begin that restoration, and Patty was good enough to urge me to do that. The
Yeah.
same thing actually for the 37 Ford as well,
Yeah. Yeah. I was.
and
Uh,
that was a factor.
yeah. I agree with you, Bill. And Patty was actually the last one I was going to mention. Also, Patty, who I did. Patty have uh, any part in naming Ginger, or was that you?
Actually, yes, yes. As a matter of fact, we can give full responsibility for both Fred and Ginger. Seeing the connection between my fascination with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, and the Jaguar being a ginger, sort of very very feminine, sleek, sexy even, and Fred being more of a tall. You know, the older cars were quite a bit off ways off the ground. But the key thing, it strikes me, with the 37 Ford was the white wall tires, and there was often seen in movies in tuxedos and spats
Hmm.
on the white covering over the shoes,
Yeah.
and so the white walls, and so there was a parallel between those cars and my fascination with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. So she saw that and thus named them both quite creatively, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I I've always been able to associate Ginger with Ginger Rogers with Ginger the
Yeah,
Jaguar. I've
yeah.
I've grown to associate Fred, the 37
Mhm.
Ford, with Durham, Bulldog Durham, the private eye. But I
Yes.
don't know if that's a good association or not. I don't know.
Well, it might be. I hadn't thought of that particular one. I'll have to kick that one around. But Fred Astaire was the, at least for me, the traditional one. But I think there's some other ones that might work pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think because of Fred's kind of hulking look, kind of
Yeah,
muscular sort of.
yeah,
He
yeah.
he fits to me Bulldog Durham's looks, I guess, more than anything.
I'll have to do a little research on that one.
Okay. Yeah, but over the years, I'm sure we've missed many people who have had either an interest or
Oh yeah,
helped with Ginger in some way or had some connection with Ginger. I'm sure we've missed many people, but those are the ones that immediately come to mind to me anyway.
certainly. Well, we'll have other chances, I believe,
Yeah,
to further adventures. I think in the future.
yeah. Well, I suspect that wraps it up for me immediately anyway. But like you said, we'll probably have more things coming up,
Yeah,
so we'll have
yeah, I think so.
a part four to this. I'm quite certain.
Yeah,
Should we
yeah.
call it a day on this?
I think we can. That's a wrap. I
Okay,
think
already.
that's a good
Well,
one.
okay. I'll stop it.